What's going on, everyone? It's Justin here, and today I've got an unboxing for you of the brand new iPad Air 5th generation for 2022 with an M1 processor. So when this iPad was actually redesigned last year, it matched the same design as the iPad Pro and became one of the best overall values in the iPad lineup, in my opinion. It was priced at $599, which is $200 cheaper than the entry-level iPad Pro, and it gave a lot of people what they needed out of an iPad. It gave people quite a bit of power, Apple Pencil 2nd generation support, a pretty good display that is just slightly smaller than the one on the iPad Pro, and it came with a starting storage of 64 gigabytes, which for people who just use it to consume content or do a lot of things that are web-based, that was a decent amount of storage to work with. But of course, if you wanted the best of the best and the professional aspects of ProMotion display and all that kind of stuff, then you would jump up to the iPad Pro at a higher price point that is more comparable to an entry-level MacBook. So today in front of us, we have the brand new iPad Air, and this is in the blue color, which I really liked last year. But most importantly, we're going to be talking about the different configurations, the M1 processor, and most importantly, how it compares to the iPad Pro and which option you should get based on what is best for you. So we're just going to go ahead and set this aside here, but the first thing is, of course, opening the iPad itself. The model that I have right here is the 256 gig one, but just opening it up, you can see the iPad itself, and I feel like the blue is a little bit darker this year that I like a lot more. If you guys have been watching our early Apple coverage this week, we unboxed the iPhone SE in the dark navy color, as well as the new green color options of the iPhone. So if you guys want to see more Apple content, just go ahead and subscribe to the channel, drop a thumbs up on the video, and let me know if you have any questions of this iPad Air. So aside from the iPad itself, you have the cable and you also have the charging brick, but otherwise the packaging experience is relatively minimal nowadays. In addition to the iPad itself though, Apple also sent over their Smarts Folio case, and this is in a really nice navy color. But most importantly, I think with the Magic Keyboard combination paired up with the blue iPad, it just looks super sleek and fun, and I actually quite like the white keyboard. I'm not really good at keeping things clean, but I do find that the black keyboard catches dust extremely easily due to its soft touch finish, so I think there are some advantages with going with the white keyboard, and this is also one that I've really enjoyed the typing experience of and have used on my iPad Pro for many years now. So now that we have the iPad out of the box, let's talk about some of the new features in this year's model. The biggest one is the M1 processor. It features an 8-core CPU and an 8-core GPU, and it's 60% faster than the A14 processor and 2 times faster graphics than the A14. And I feel like that is pretty big because the biggest differentiating factor beyond the ProMotion display of the iPad Pro, as well as the cameras and LiDAR, was the processor itself. I talked about how impressive it was that the same M1 processor that you see in the MacBook Pro, the MacBook Air, and the iMac 24-inch was able to fit in a tablet and give you essentially desktop-like comparable performance in a portable form factor. The software talk is obviously a whole other thing based on what you're able to do on iPad OS, but in terms of raw power, an M1 processor for people who do Lightroom, Procreate, or any very intensive tasks and even video editing on an iPad would definitely notice a big difference when it came to the optimized performance as well as the battery life. In this model right here, it comes with 8 gigabytes of unified memory, and that is the same that you're going to find on the iPad Pro base model with the M1 processor. And if you go ahead and grab a higher storage model of the iPad Pro, then it goes all the way up to 16 gigabytes of unified memory. So yeah, on the baseline of things, and in terms of the specs and the benchmarks, it is essentially exactly the same. Another pretty notable upgrade though is 2 times faster transfer speeds on the USB Type-C ports. And for anyone who's transferring large files, a ton of photos or videos, that is going to be huge. And although it isn't the Thunderbolt speeds that you're going to find on the iPad Pro, it is definitely a welcome addition for those who hope to take advantage of the M1 processing power and what you can do on this tablet. The last change to mention is that it does have the 5G support on the cellular models minus the millimeter wave support. So similar to what we saw on the iPhone SE, the entire lineup is being brought to have 5G support, with the Pro models and the top models of the iPhone overall being the only ones that have the millimeter wave. But generally speaking, even though it isn't any sort of redesign because we just saw one last year, and for the most part at the surface level, the iPad Air looks really similar. I think for anyone who is looking to upgrade from a previous generation iPad and is looking for a decent amount of power in the middle of the lineup, The iPad Air is a better value than ever before if you go ahead and buy the base model. Before I move on though, I want to give a huge thanks to the sponsor of this video, Evernote. If you guys saw my day in life video, you know I've talked about like all the different apps that I use to stay on task, take notes for videos, write down ideas and pitches, and one of them that our entire team uses is Evernote. It's really good to be able to stay organized, have everything nicely formatted, and by having everything very visually put together, it just makes you more motivated to continue that proper workflow for yourself and for your team. I can start my day knowing what's a priority because the home organizes everything from important notes to my schedule to all the tasks assigned. We're able to check off our to-do list with tasks, complete them with due dates, reminders, and links, and also have the ability to assign them to others on the team. With meetings throughout the week, it is also able to keep me nice and organized, and it will remind me to open any notes related to a given meeting or calendar event. And with a lot of things going on, it's important to prepare the points that we want to talk about, as well as log different things that we might have discussed during the call, and it is able to associate that with what is in the calendar. I can use shortcuts, save searches, tags, and the filtered notes widgets to organize the information. And if I need to track email receipts and purchase confirmations, I can also send it directly to my Evernote email address and email it to myself, and it will be formatted as an editable note in the Evernote app. I use Evernote on my phone, computer, tablets, and anywhere, and the best part about it is that it is very universal. So if you guys want to go and download Evernote for yourself, I'm going to drop a link down below. When you take a look at the whole lineup, and as you've noticed in this video, I've talked a lot about the iPad Pro. And even though we do expect it to have like a 2022 update, when you compare it to the current iPad Pro that is available at the moment, you'll see that it starts at a price point of $200 more at $799, and it comes with 128 gigs of base storage. And people say like maybe there shouldn't be a 64 gig iPad Air, but at a price point of $599, I feel like the 64 gig base storage makes a lot of sense. And if you do everything on like the cloud, you can definitely get away with that. But if you go ahead and upgrade to the 256 gig option of the iPad Air, which is the next level up, then it comes in at only $50 within the price of the iPad Pro, which has 128 and gives you quite a bit of additional features that you may or may not use, including the additional camera, the LiDAR sensor, the slightly better front-facing camera with true depth, as well as the 5G millimeter wave, and most importantly, you have that ProMotion display that is also slightly brighter at 600 nits compared to 500 nits on the iPad Air. That definitely makes the decision quite a bit harder. The other difference to also note is that the iPad Pro speakers are quite a bit better. But generally speaking, we're here to talk about the iPad Air and is it a good value in 2022 and should you buy it? And I would say absolutely. The M1 processor is a significant upgrade from the A14, which I already feel like for a lot of people who are doing like general tasks and just like are pretty casual iPad users are never really going to utilize even the power that the A14 is able to offer. But if you're doing things that definitely take up more processing, such as imaging, maybe intensive games, and have a ton of things open and feel like your old iPad is not able to keep up anymore, then the M1 difference is going to be night and day. In addition to that, the battery life with the M1 processor is probably going to be a little bit better than what you're going to find on the iPad Pro because it doesn't have that ProMotion display, which is 120 Hertz, and it also doesn't have the increased brightness up to 600 nits. I'm definitely going to go ahead and spend some more time testing that out and letting you know whether or not I notice a huge difference, but I imagine on paper, being the same chip and a slightly different display and having less features overall, there should be a bit of a difference there. As always, if you guys want to see more videos of the iPad Air 5th generation for 2022, just go ahead and drop a comment down below, leave a thumbs up on this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.